Recording in progress. Okay, so every Wednesday for the last several weeks, we've been going through the Mike Ferry 21-point sales system. So today we are on point 8, which is handling objections. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But before we do, I found something very fascinating today. I'm going to share my screen. So one of our agents, who's one of our higher producing agents, asked me, what is this year? What's my average price for listing sales and my average price for buyer sales? So I looked it up. This was their average price. It was 626, 300 and something, and then it was 765, whatever. So I just, simple math, we'll round it out. 626,000 was the average price of the listing sales. 765,000 was the average price of the buyer sales. So the buyer sales were a little bit higher. A lot of that came from buyers moving up to bigger properties. Okay. And this is an agent that's doing a lot of transactions. So this is a really interesting study we did. So the buyer sales are $140,000 higher in volume on average. So let me ask you this, based on this, which one do you think has a higher average commission? Do you think the agent gets more money on the listing sales or on the buyer sales?
Listing, you have full control.
Okay, so you think that even though their price point is lower, they're getting more commission per listing sale?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone agree, disagree?
Yes.
Yeah. So listing, you think listings are getting more money on the listing sales?
Yes.
Okay. Even though the buyer sales have a higher volume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
100%.
here's the numbers. So again, I'm just rounding out the numbers because it was, 1,003, whatever. Okay. So just simple math. Their average commission for the listings was 18,000. Okay. The average commission for the buyer sales was 16,000. So you're all right. Woo! So even though the buyer sales were $140,000 higher, they were getting more. Okay. So the average percentage, so we broke it down, they're getting 2.87% average on their listings. So that as a listing agent, their average percentage they're getting is 2.87. Their average on the buyer side is 2.09. So here's my takeaway from this that has to do a couple things. And we're talking about objection handling, which is where this is going to lead to. So number one, obviously the main takeaway we get from this. Well, let me ask you, looking at this, what are some takeaways you get from this? When you see these numbers, what do you get?
You want to be the
Take more listing.
You okay? Take more listings. You want to be the listing agent. Yeah, that seems to make sense. What else do you get from these numbers?
You decide on the commission.
You decide on the commission as the listing agent, right? So you get more money. What else do you get from these numbers? So let me add a couple things here. You're all right. 100%. You're all right. Let me add a couple things here. Does it ever cross your mind, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, does it ever cross your mind that the client is always thinking about commission?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes agents, maybe not any of you, although I would, if we were all being honest, I would disagree. Don't be mad. We go in sometimes going, well, I can't offer too much because someone's going to come in lower. And yet this agent, their average listing commission is 2.87%. It's not 2.5. It's not 2. It's not 1.5 because I see the billboards all the time. Sell your house for 1.5% commission, 2.87%. So in this day and age, 2021, with discount commission people and all these other iBuyers and all the other programs, this agent, and again, we're talking, this was, you know, 40 listings and 40 buyers. So this is a fair comparison. This is not like one or two deals. They're getting 2.87%. So they're still getting a really good commission percentage as a listing agent despite it. So one of the things I want to write down, want you to figure out here, this is all going to come to objection handling, commission objection handling. Consider the mindset, I don't have to cut my commission right away. It's 2021 and there's all these different programs out there where they can get lower commission. You've got to, when it comes to commission objection handling, get in your mind immediately, I don't need to cut my commission.
Yeah, it's a skill
As
set.
long as I can show value, I can get 2.87%. That's average. That means sometimes this agent gets 3. That means sometimes they get 2.5. But that's number one. Number two is this number, 2.09%. So this is the buyer's agent. This is when this agent's the buyer's agent, so she has no control over their commission. This means that listing agents care less and less about the buyer's agent's commission. This is what this tells me.
You know, Robert, what this is also saying,
What's that?
to me, it looks, if it was 40-40 means that they're probably double ending it.
No, none of them were double-ended, actually. We
Oh,
took out
none
their
of them were
we
double ended.
took out the double end. It's a great point, Maria. Actually, I forgot to add that. We took out the
Yeah,
double
because
ended.
I was, my thoughts were, okay, they're double ending it. They're probably doing a 5% commission.
Yeah,
They're only
No,
giving
it's
2%
great.
to the buyer agent if there's a buyer agent.
no, it's a
And
great,
that's
it's
how
a
they're
great
averaging
pickup.
close to the 3%, you know,
Yeah.
close to the 3%.
Great
So-
pickup.
So if it's not a double ended, does this mean that they're like averaging? I mean, not averaging, but it's closer to like the 6%
Well, I don't know, because they're only getting on their closings 2.8%. So I don't know what they're offering the buyer's agent on
okay.
their listings. But this is when they're representing the buyer, this is what they're getting.
And this is on none of their own listings.
None of their own listings. We took out the double enders.
Oh my gosh,
So
this is
again,
good.
yeah. So this again reminds us, other agents are not fighting for the buyer's agent commission. They're not fighting for the buyer's agent commission. We've talked about this. I've shown stats over and over and over again on how buyer agent commissions are going down and down and down. Which brings me to the commission objection handler of saying, I only charge 2.78%. All you need to do is decide how much you want to pay the buyer's agent. Because a number of you don't have to admit it, but I know it's true, still have a hard time with that objection handler. Which you go in and say, well, I only charge 5%. I only charge 6%. And you're losing deals because you're charging 5 and 6%, which means you're charging that much because you're trying to get the buyer's agent paid. Other agents are not trying to get you paid as the buyer's agent.
Hey, Robert.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, the other day I was showing properties and my client liked, one of the listings. And then when I was getting really excited, I looked the commission for the selling office, $1.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. That was it Rudy?
I don't know who it was, but it was $1.
Yeah.
And I said, never mind about the house.
Yeah. There's an agent, Rudy Kusama, who does that, who put it to $1 because he's just trying to double end the deal. But NAR, you're allowed to do whatever you want.
Can I ask another question, Robert?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about buyer's commission here, and with the rules that they're actually disclosing all the buyer's agent commission in the listings now, like on the third party websites and when you print out things. My first question is, number one is, with paying down, like, you pick the buyer agent, but if you give them like 1%, 1.5%, yes, will you show? I think they have to show, but I think now that even when it shows, you're gonna have to show anyway. So you can't say something like, well, they may not take you to show your listing. That's my first comment, right? The second question is, when do you think they will cut out buyer commission, meaning that the buyer will have to pay for their own agent and the listing agent pay their own?
We're on a race to the bottom. Real estate agents are rushing to zero. So
I'll be so happy when that happens.
Yeah, at some point it might. They do
When
that.
each agent, buyer and seller pay their own agent.
Yeah.
That would be the day, right?
There are some, it's not United States, but there are other countries that in real estate, that is how it works. The buyer's agent pays the buyer's agent commission. The listing agent pays listing agent commission. I don't know at what point, how far we're going to go before it happens here, but we're certainly racing to the bottom. So this is the point. And then we're going to, so I want to finish this up because I got like 20 points on handling objections, but I wanted to bring this to you because one of the biggest objections we get on listings is the commission. And we wrote out an objection handler that says, I only charge this. You decide what you want to pay the buyer's agent. And we fight because, well, no, we don't want to pay 2% or 1.5%. You're the only one fighting, because if it was the other way around, if they interview another agent, they're not going to fight for your paycheck as the buyer's agent. I'm not saying it's ideal. I don't like it. I don't like paying the buyer's agent 1%, 1.5%. I don't like it. But that's not the world we're living in. So I just wanted to show these numbers because and I didn't even think of this until this morning when the agent asked me to do this. And it just dawned on me, like I asked them, I said, do you mind if I share these numbers? Because this was just fascinating. So when objection handling on the commission, get yours. What do you want to pay the buyer's agent? Well, I only want to pay him 2%. Great, sign here. So if you offered 2.5%, and they offered 2% to the buyer's agent, what's the total commission? 2.5 to you.
What was the
2%.
question again,
What's
Robert?
the total? What's the total
4.5.
amount? 4.5. Great. So you just got a listing that ended up being 4.5%, which is a bet, which if you had gone in and said, I charge 6%, you would have been 1.5% off. You wouldn't have gotten it. Got to start looking at this stuff. You're losing deals on this commission stuff because you're fighting for 5 and 6%. And I'm telling you, there's deals out there that you're losing. You might not even know that they're losing. Oh, they decided to go with me, someone else because of X. Crazy.
Hey,
So what are your suggestions if you fight for your own commission on your side of the listing agent? And they say, yeah, I'll pay you the 3%. And then, so at that point, you're saying, do bring up how much you want to pay the
How much you want to pay the buyer's
agent,
agent?
right?
I charge this, Mr. Mrs. Seller. How much you want to pay the buyer's agent? I only want to pay him 1.5%. Great, done. Sign the contract.
Okay, so then, so if you're going to double end it, then obviously you're going to get that whole commission,
Yeah.
but you don't have a big incentive to double end it then, right?
Well, I don't know.
You could do,
1.5% on $700,000 is 10 grand.
Well, yeah.
If you don't want to do it, just let me know. I'll take it.
Hey, Robert,
Yes, Michael.
what the other agent said before, that we're gonna get to the point that he said, you guys paying for the buyer's commission. Actually, we need to handle that right now with for sale by owners. Every time we go to for sale by owners, said, I want this money, anything that you get goes over the price. So pretty much they want the buyer to pay the commission. That's
Yeah.
a different objection, but it's going into the for sale by owners.
Yeah, look, people, for sale by owners, if you're trying to call expireds, bring me a buyer, all these other different things. It's certainly possible, and it has come up before. There are every so often deals where they will say the buyer has to pay the buyer's agent commission. So it does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So it is what it is. But I don't know if we're going to get to that as a regular thing here for a while, but who knows? But the point is to that is I'll show, I'm not going to do it today because I want to get to the rest of these points on handling objections. But I did this report and I've tracked it over the last 2 years, and I've done it like once every 8 or 9 months I go the 4 counties, LA, San Bernardino, Orange, Riverside County, the 4 counties that we have offices. And I look at all the closings and I look at what percentage was the buyer's commission between 2.5 and 3, what was 2 to 2.5, 1.5 to 2, under 1.5, right? And under 2% over the last 2 years has tripled in percentages. And 2.5 to 3% has been cut in half. So again, we'll talk about that another day because I got more points to get to, but I just wanted to bring that up because this is handling objection, and one of the big ones is commission. And some people do this objection handler really well, and some people still fight for 5 and 6%, and you're just killing yourself trying to pay a buyer's agent when if the role was reversed and the other agent had the chance, they would cut your commission on the buyer side. And you're trying to fight for them. Makes no sense.
Very, very good point.
There you go. Okay. All right. So let's get into more handling objections. So I wrote down a list of thoughts here. These are in no order of importance. You decide what's important. We'll go from there. So the first thing I wrote down here is this. The best way to handle an objection is to not get one. It's point number 1. Robert, what the hell does that mean? Well, here's what that means. This is a Mike Ferry quote that says, there is a direct correlation between the amount of objections you receive and the strength and quality of your presentation. There is a direct correlation between the amount of objections you receive and the strength and quality of your presentation, which is why I then say the best way to handle objections is to not get them. So the best thing you can do, first of all, to handle objections is get really, really good at your presentations, plural, not just your listing presentation, but your buyer consultations. You're showing offers, you're showing property, your price reduction. These are all presentations, yes? And they can all come up with objections. You ask for a price reduction and you don't present the price reduction very well. What is the seller going to give you? An objection. So the best way to start handling objections and get to learn objections is to first work on your presentations so you can then get less of them. So point number 1. Okay. Point 2, I wrote down here, what is the difference between an objection and a condition? So an objection is a question that remains unanswered. An objection is a question that remains unanswered. A condition is a statement of fact that you can do nothing about. So let me give you an example. Seller says, I can't sell right now because I'm retiring next year and I can't work remotely. Is that an objection or a condition?
Condition.
Condition.
The condition. What am I going to tell them? You know what? Sell it anyways. We'll get you an apartment. You can store all your stuff in storage. Come on. You know, we're not in that type of market where the houses are tanking. Okay. That's a condition.
Hey, Robert.
Yes, Michael.
And then you can tell the seller when they say that, well, let me give you my condition. I had to make my mortgage payment at the end of the month.
There you go. So, but then on the flip side of that is, well, we want to think it over. Is that an objection or a condition?
It's an objection.
It's an objection.
Objection.
Yeah, I want to think it over. That's an objection, right?
Mhm.
So you have to understand the difference between objection and condition. And I wrote down here, if it's a condition, move on. Move on. Don't try to fit a square hole in a round peg or any other analogy you want to do. Some things you can't do. But don't assume that everything's a condition. So here's one. Well, I need to get a certain price. Otherwise, I won't sell. Is that a condition or an objection?
That's a condition. But it's a
Objection.
condition
Maybe.
that can be handled, though.
Objection.
So maybe.
See, I did that one on
50-50.
purpose. I did it on purpose because I wanted to see how people responded. You have to ask why. You have to add and you're all right. That's the best part. You're all right. Because it could be in a condition or an objection. You have to ask more questions. What is important about that price? So give you an example. Well, if I don't get 800,000, I'm only going to sell this property if I can buy a $1.5 million new build. But in order for me to qualify, I need to sell this for 800,000. Okay. And you know it's a $725,000 property all day. That's a condition. What are you going to do? You know, are you interested in any other property? No, I'm only interested in that new build complex and they're selling for 1.5 and I need 800,000. Okay, it's a condition. Can't do anything about it. But if they say, well, I want 800,000 just because, you know, that's what I think the market's going for. That's an objection. So you need to understand the difference between the two, but if it's a condition, move on. Move on. All right, I wrote down here next. In regards to thinking it over is simply a smokescreen for what is really concerning the seller. Thinking it over is just a smokescreen for what is really concerning the seller. So let's try this out. Seller says we want to think it over. What do you say?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it and see what it is you're thinking over. Let's see if I can help you out with that.
Very good. Very good. Good job. Good job.
2 minds are better than one. Let's think out loud together.
There it is. Since 2 minds are better than one, or if 3 minds are better than 2, let's think out loud together. Tell me, what are you thinking about? Perfect. Both of you are right. I just wanted to see if anyone actually is paying attention or if anyone knows the scripts or, you know, if we just do the morning scripts just so people will pass the time. They say, I want to think it over. Don't go, all right, I get it. Well, I'll call you tomorrow. Oh, of course you want to think it over. This is a big decision. No problem. No, since 2 minds are better than 1, 3 minds are better than 2. Tell me, let's think out loud together. What are you thinking about? Get it out of them because there's something that they're thinking about. And here's where I wrote down objection handling. Never assume you know what they're thinking about. Killer in objection handling. Some of you that I get on calls with, so you'll call me every so often. Hey, I'm running into this situation. And I'll say, well, why do they want to do that? And you'll say, I think, and I said, stop. It's not about what you think. You need to ask questions. Why are they giving you this objection? What are you thinking about? Is it price? Is it commission? Is it terms? What's the deal? Tell me, what are you thinking about? We have to get them to open up. I wrote down here next, since objections never change, don't be afraid of them, just learn the answers. Since objections never change, don't be afraid of them, learn the answers. For those of you who've been around Neil for a long time, you know, what was Neil's first sale as a real estate agent? He's said this before.
I said I wasn't born yet.
What was Neil's first sale as a real estate agent? What source? You could take a guess if you want.
Was it a high school teacher?
No. It was what type was it? An expired? Was it a for sale by owner? Was it a database?
Sphere?
Just listed, just sold? Nope.
Expired.
Ask client.
For sale by owner.
For sale by owner was his very first sale 45 years ago. What was the objection that the for sale by owner gave him?
Commission.
Commission.
Save money.
I'm selling it myself because I want to save the commission. 45 years ago. Now, if you went to a for sale by owner today, what would be the objection?
Save money.
Commission.
Commission. It would be
Yeah.
commission.
That hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed in 45 years. So the point is with the objections, this is a key point. I want everyone to write down. Don't make it harder than it has to be. See, sometimes with objections, we get so caught up in, well, what's the newest, latest way to handle this? What if they say this? What if I do this? What about this? If it's a for sale by owner, they're selling it themselves to save the commission because they don't see any value in a real estate agent. You don't need to know anything else. Go handle that one objection. That's it. Okay, so you just don't make it harder. There's only a certain amount of objections. I wrote down here, you don't need to know 40 objection handlers. You're only going to get 4 or 5 of the same objections, right? What do you get? What are the objections that you're going to get? What are the objections? Tell me.
Did
What
you
are some of the
say-
objections?
Did you say since objections never change, learn the answers? Is that what
Yeah.
you said? Okay.
Correct. Don't be afraid of them. Learn the answers. So what are the common objections?
I have a friend in the business.
Friend or family in the business. What else?
What do you charge?
What do you charge? Commission, right? What else?
Have you
I
sold
need
in
to
my
think it over.
area?
Not
Sold
ready.
in my area. Okay. What'd you say, Maria?
Stuff
What
we
do you
practice every
do to
day.
get home sold?
What do you do to get home sold? Great.
And I need
So,
to think it over.
Commission, price, friend or family in the business.
Mhm.
What do you do to sell homes? You haven't sold in my area, right? Yeah, think it over is one of them, but to think it over, you're going to ask the question, and it's going to be one of those 5 things. So instead of learning 40 different objection handlers, why don't you just learn 3 or 4 ways to handle those 5? Because if you work for Century 21, you're never going to hear, I've never heard of your company. I don't need to handle that objection. Okay.
Linda Walker.
Exactly. And so, there's certain objections you don't have to worry about. Are you going to give me a kickback? No. Well, the other agent would. Go work with them. Well, Robert, that's not a very good objection handler. Well, then raise your standards. That's a different class. Okay. I never see any of your signs in my neighborhood. That's because my home sells so quickly. Sign goes up, comes right down. If you would like, I could sell your home slower. Keep my sign in the yard for 45, 60 days. What do you think? No? Okay, great. Sign here. But you don't ever even get that objection, really. So focus on the ones you're going to get and learn 3 or 4 different ways. But you have to learn 3 or 4 different ways of handling it. Because if you say cut your commission and you handle it, does it work 100% all the time?
No.
No. So you need to be able to handle it 2 or 3 different ways. Why else do you need to know multiple ways of handling different objections? Why? What is one thing that is key for that?
Personality.
There it is. Personality styles. Will you cut your commission? No. Any other questions? How's that going to go with an analytical?
Yeah, not well.
That's not going to go well at all. Imagine telling that to an amiable. Will you cut your commission? No. Any other questions? Holy crap. Who are you? Okay. So because of everyone's different personality styles, you need to know 3 or 4 different ways of handling every objection. So keep it simple. Don't figure out this. So here's what I wrote down next. Don't worry about the what if scenarios. Don't worry about the what if scenarios. Well, but Robert, what if they say this? How often is that going to come up? Once in a while? Then don't worry about it. Don't focus the time on the what if scenarios. What if they say this? What if this happens? Focus on the ones that you know are going to come up. Get really good at those. Because here's the thing. If you don't know the what if scenario, your competition certainly doesn't know the what if scenario. So don't worry about it.
Hey, Robert,
Yes.
when you were talking about, everybody knows the company, that creates another objection. I see in more and more. There is a lot of expires from Century 21 companies, not us, but other companies, Century 21, many agents that they listed and they expire.
Mhm.
So sometimes, I personally feel a little, you go into the appointment and they say, I already did with your company, Century 21. And there are many, many, because like I said, we are very popular.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and
cool.
that is another way to handle another objection.
So so that is going to happen. I guess the one thing you can do if you're calling the expires is find out who it expired from. And if it is Century 21, say you're calling from Masters Realty Services, which is technically our DBA. Cindy's not on the call, is she? I feel like that's
Robert,
gonna get me in trouble.
So Robert, from what you're saying, the key is to really figure out all the personality styles and narrow those down,
Yeah.
and then find all the objection answers to deal with that type of personality, right?
Right. So, because if they say, I want to cut your commission, I need to know that if it's a driver, I can say, no, any other questions? They might say, well, I just had to ask. But I can't say that to an amiable. I'd have to say, you know what, I can't do that, but can I explain why it's not in your best interest for me not to cut my commission? Oh, yes, please tell me, why is it in my best interest? And analytical says, will you cut your commission? No, I'm not going to do that. But let me tell you why. By me not cutting my commission, you're actually going to get more money in your pocket. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. Tell me. Let's talk about getting more money in my pocket. To an expressive, will you cut your commission? No, I'm not going to do that. But let me tell you why that's not going to work for you. Okay. Yeah. Tell me, man, what's going on? I need to know how to do that to every personality style.
Mhm. Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just going to shut out 75% of the people. So good stuff. Okay, perfect. So I wrote down here next. Don't ever handle objections on the phone. You will never win. Don't handle objections over the phone. You will never win. There will always be somebody offering a higher price, a lower commission. There will always be someone that swears they have a better marketing plan. And if you don't have a chance to present, you're never going to win. So don't handle the objections over the phone. How much do you charge? That's a great question. When we get together, we'll go over that very first thing. Sound good? How much do you think my home's worth? That's a really great question. When we get together, I'm going to take a look at your home. We'll go over the comps. I'll tell you how much your home's worth. What do you do to get home sold? Well, that's I could do this all day, but you have to not handle it over the phone. How much do you charge? 6%. I got an agent that'll do it for 3. Click. You're done. Don't handle it over the phone. Okay. I wrote down here next. You can find out a lot of the objections during the pre-qualifying script. ... If you pre-qualify. You can find out a lot of objections in the pre-qualifying script if you pre-qualify. Somebody give me an example. What's an objection you can find out in the pre-qualifying script?
Would you please describe your home for me?
Yeah. I can find out their personality style and stuff like that. Sure. What's another objection I can find out in the pre-qualifying script?
Price.
Price. When I see you tonight, how much do you want to list your home for? 1.2 million. And you know it's a $1 million area day and night. I know price is an objection. How much won't you go below? I'm not taking a penny below 1.2. We have a problem. What's another objection you can get on the pre-qualifying script?
Whether they're thinking of another agent.
Whether they're thinking of another agent. Perfect. Are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job selling your home? Yeah, we're going to interview so-and-so. Great.
Okay,
So now I know.
Or
So
if they're
if-
planning on selling it themselves?
Oh, look at Gilda. Have you ever thought about selling it yourself? Well, yeah, we've considered it. Now I know I'm going up against a potential for sale by owner. Chris, what were you going to say?
I was saying that if you you know, you ask these questions to find out, right? Do you have, well, I guess that's beyond guideline, like a rule to whether you decide to go or take or not take or go or not go. For example, like if you talking about you asking commission, you know, this guy's a person gonna be a grinder on there, right? And all they
Mhm.
want is just a discount commission. I mean, you still, I know you don't want to handle objection with the phone, but do you really want to go out there and try to convince them that that's what they want? You see what I mean?
On a commission, yes. On price, maybe not. So great point. So what Chris is saying, if I hear him correctly, is that they pre-qualify and they can tell, they say, great, do you have any questions before I come out? I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing it above 2% total commission. You know, anyone heard people like that? I'm not doing it above 2. I'm not doing it above 2.5, 3. Telling you that right now, I'm only paying 1% to each side.
Yes.
I would still go.
Yes.
I would still go because I feel my confidence that, okay, I can overcome that. My value, I can show that. That's me. Doesn't make it right or wrong. That's me. If it's a price thing, then I need to ask some additional questions. How much do you want to list your home for? 1.2 million. And I know, because I preview that market and I know it's 1 million best. What price won't you go below? I'm not taking a penny below 1.2. Okay. Now I could still go, or I could ask some additional questions. So, Mr. Massar, let me ask you this, 1.2 million. So what's so important about that price? And then I can find out if it's a commission or a condition, objection, things like that. If I find out it's a condition and I know for a fact there's no chance I can get that price, then maybe I don't go. Now, if I'm a little bit off, maybe I go. Commission, I'm going. Price, I'm going to ask more questions.
One of the things that I've found, Robert, is that over the phone, they're very, very good at making all kinds of objections, but face to face, sometimes they forget those objections, or maybe they don't have the courage to bring them out.
Oh, 100%.
So I would still go.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Good. Good point. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right. So I wrote down here next, when handling objections, always agree, always smile, always nod your head, and never argue. Always agree, always a smile, always nod your head, and never argue. Well, I want to list it at 1.2 million. Oh God, why do you want to do that? That's not going to work. Oh, okay, interesting. So tell me a little bit more about that. What's important about 1.2 million? That works. 1.2 million, what are you, crazy? Oh, you're going to interview another agent? Get angry, argue. Don't do that. Agree, nod, smile, even if it's ridiculous. Even if it's the most ridiculous thing. Well, I think I can get more money than sell it myself. You don't go, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? You just not, oh, okay, you think you can get more money, sell yourself. I understand. Why do you think you can get more money selling it yourself? And then I can go down, but I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm just, okay, great. Write down these 2 words. That's interesting. They give you an objection. Worst case scenario, say, oh, that's interesting. Nod your head. Prevents you from saying something like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? That's interesting. The next thing you can write down when handling objections, if all else fails, say, tell me more about that. Anyone here ever have their mind go blank? You know the script inside and out, upside and down, 4 or 5 different languages, but your mind goes blank sometimes? Anyone? Just me?
Yes.
Okay. So when all else fails and the mind goes blank, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Gives your mind a little bit of time. You wake up. We're in the middle of a presentation. I bought us a little bit of time. We want you to cut your commission. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. They might look at you and go, well, what? I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but we just think that other agents are willing to do it. You're like, okay. Oh, I'm awake now. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. That'll buy you so much time, get you so much stuff. All right. Good job. All right. All right, I wrote down here. Emotion creates objections. Logic handles objections. Emotion creates objections. Logic handles objections. So here's what I mean. You give them a suggested price. Their emotion creates the objection. 820. I mean, gosh, we were really hoping for 850. The emotion created the objection. Logic of showing them, well, this is why 820 is the best way to do it, and then showing them the steps is what handles the objection. Emotion will not handle the objection. You can't use emotion to create the objection and emotion to handle the objection. But it's very key to, this is why this is important, okay? Logic does not create objections. This is important because sometimes we get stuck because we think I'm making logical sense. How are they still objecting? It's not the logic. There's an emotional aspect to it. You've shocked them with the price being lower than they want. You've shocked them with the commission being higher than they want. You've shocked them with they thought you were going to do more, even though you think you're doing amazing as far as all the stuff you're going to do. They thought you were going to do more, right? It wasn't the logic. If there's an emotional response that has gotten them shook a little bit, and when emotion gets in the way, logic gets out of the way. They're not thinking logically. So you have to really bring the logic in to get it back to where it makes sense. Okay. It's very, very important. Very, very important to understand. Okay. A couple more points here and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So I wrote down here next. This is key. Remember that objections usually come from someone that wants to work with you, but just simply has a couple questions. Remember that objections usually come from someone that wants to work with you, but just simply has a couple of questions. If they didn't want to work with you, would they care how much you were charging in commission?
No.
If they didn't want to work with you, would they care about you explaining your price to them? No. Would they ask you for your plan of action? No. They would just say, oh, okay, great, thanks, and move on. How do I know? We do it. You get multiple bids for a renovation on your house, and then you don't want to deal with this one person. You don't want to go, well, what if we do this? You just go, I'll go deal with this other person. We do it. We do it all the time. They're asking an objection because they're curious. They're like, okay, I'm considering this person. We've just got to get this squared away. So it's a mindset thing with handling objections. If they give you an objection, don't get down. Don't get upset. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I failed. They're asking me about my commission. They don't agree with my price. Did I comp it right? Oh my gosh, you start doubting yourself. When they give you an objection, you should have the mindset like, wow, I'm close. I'm in the game. Because they could have just said, we're good. Okay? Men, you were single. If the women didn't like you, they wouldn't have called you back. Okay? The fact that they were like, I'll give this guy a shot means you were in the game. It's the same thing in real estate. Okay? I'm in the game. I got a shot. So it's just a mindset tweak when coming to objections, right?
They want to get convinced.
They want to get convinced. They want to get, they're telling you, hey, look, you're close. I kind of feel it. I kind of feel like this could work, but I'm just not quite there yet. So I'm going to throw something at you. I'm giving you the opportunity to convince me to get me across the finish line. I'm there. Like you're in the game, but I need a little help. So I'm going to throw something back at you. Get me there. You have to look at it from that perspective. But when they do that and you get down or frustrated or you get angry and you start speeding up and you start fighting, that's when they start pulling away and go, man, I gave you something. I gave you an opportunity to pull me across the finish line and you actually pushed me back. Can't do that. The objection is to get you excited. It means you're close. All right. All right. And then the last point I wrote down here, because I'm already way over. I got a couple points, but I wrote down here. Okay. Mike Ferry, best way to learn how to handle objection. Okay. There's 5 points here. Mike Ferry's best way to learn how to handle objection. Number 1, memorize the listing presentation script. Best way to learn how to handle an objection is memorize, number 1, memorize the listing presentation script. Goes back to point number 1. Best way to handle an objection is to not get it. Number 2, work to understand the logic of the script. So what I mean by logic of the script is you have to understand the car analogy. Why does that make sense? You have to understand going through the comps why this one's better than yours is better than this one's the same. You have to understand the logic of that. 3, you have to understand that the client will believe you when you believe you. So, for example, I'm going to do all these things to get your home sold. If you're not really going to do all those things to get their home sold, they're going to realize you're not going to do all those things to get their home sold. Because you're not going to be convicted. You're not going to have any conviction. But when you have passionately can go over your plan of action, they'll believe you. Number 4, know that what is true and factual is what they will believe. Know that what is true and factual is what they will believe if they are motivated. If they're motivated. If they're not motivated, you could say 2 + 2 = 4 all day and they'll fight you. That's 5. Which means that it doesn't really matter. You don't have a real listing anyways. And number 5, create additional scripts for yourself by listening to what your prospects say and responding logically to them. Create additional scripts for yourself by listening to what your prospects say and responding logically to them. This is what I was talking about. Know 3 or 4 different ways of handling different objections based on their personality styles. Questions on any of the stuff we went over today? Very good. There's a lot more to handling objections. There's different techniques. We can go over that another time. There's all the different words you can use. Do you want a pit bull or a poodle? Do you want this? Do you want that? All these other different things. So we can go over all that another time. But this was at least just a good start for you to help on handling objections.
Robert, do you know when you're going to do one for personality styles? So
I don't yet. I just filled out the schedule for next week, so it won't be next week. Maybe the week after that, I'll do personality styles again.
Is there a way to get in advance what you're going to be going over?
Yeah, I don't know. Next week I'll put together the following week's schedule and I'll put that all together. I'll let you know.
Maria, if you want to look up on MFO on YouTube, he did a couple of videos about personality style. You can get started that way. It'll get you a head start.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I've done a couple.
On which one?
I don't know. Done.
On which one, Chris?
It's the MFO YouTube, Mike Ferry organization YouTube.